Welcome back to Sticky Situations, our three-part recorded series. So if you're seeing this, hello to the future. My name's Sam. I'm a peer advisor at the Conflict Resolution Center. I'm also a Master's of Public Health student at the Dalhousie School of Public Health. If this is your first Sticky Situations video that you're seeing, check out our previous video. It's got a great little skit. So we're here talking about normal graduate student experience that results in conflict. We do this three-part series to act out a short skit, and then we'll debrief what happened, strategize for moves forward, and talk about some resources on campus that might help you if you're in a similar situation. We're bringing on other peer advisors to the videos to get everyone introduced to the other members of the team. And this is...
Well, my name's Terrence. I'm a PhD student at the Department of Physiology, so thank you for having me here today. I'm also a G2G peer advisor, so if you want to find out more about what we do as a G2G, you can check the previous video or go to our website.
The name of today's skit that Terrence and I will be acting out is called The True Nature of Authorship. And it'll ring true for anybody in a lab environment that is dealing with what order those names appear at the top of a publication, which is very important stuff. Stay tuned.
Very sticky.
Very sticky.
Jess and Riley are third-year PhD students in biomedical sciences, and they're working on a joint research project. Jess conceptualized the research topic and the direction of the project. Things were going great until the supervisor brought Riley on board to conduct a series of tests that required specialized knowledge and would improve the impact of the research. There's been some tension between the two because they both want to impress their supervisor. Half a year later, they're writing up the manuscript and start to discuss who will be first author.
I'm so glad we're nearing the end of the project. I'm really grateful for your help. Couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, thanks, Jess. I must admit it was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on board, by the way. So how are things going with the manuscript?
Oh, I have a copy right here. Want to have a look?
Of course.
Yeah.
Hey, what the hell, man? Why am I listed as the co-first author?
Well, I mean, I was the one who came up with the idea, and this is my thesis project after all.
Wait a minute. I spent way more time than you did in the lab. I was spending night and day, man.
It's not my fault you took double the time to get your work done.
Was it my fault that you couldn't solve your own stupid problems?
Whoa, chill out. Co-first author means we're equal anyway. Everyone knows that. I could have even put you as second author. So you should be thanking me.
Wait, stop. You know what? I'm not gonna argue with you, okay? I'm just gonna take the data away. So take that, first author.
I mean, obviously I couldn't resist the lab coat. So we're back. We're gonna do a little debrief of that situation. So what went wrong? How could we resolve that? And how could we have even prevented that from happening in the first place? And I don't know about you guys, but I couldn't help but notice some overlap between what sort of happened in this situation and our first sticky situation, which is, that there just seems to be a real lack of transparency around expectations.
Yeah, certainly. Conversations around authorship should happen up front, before the work's even started. And in this case, that conversation clearly didn't happen, and that Jess was expecting to have these co-first authorship, and Riley was having none of it.
Well, I think the main issue was that both parties want to be the first author.
Right.
And I guess from Wiley's perspective, walking into the conversation, he had a few assumptions that because of the amount of work that he put into the project, he should deserve to be the first author.
Right.
And that's where the conflict was.
Yeah, and in such an important thing like publications, authorship really matters. The order of authorship really impacts how people are perceived in their futures. So this conflict has a lot of tension behind it because of that fact. So
yeah, when you were like doing some, well, maybe before we're gonna give you some tips on like intellectual property and how to like navigate the 50 million documents that like exist on the websites around U of T. But before we do that, I think like I just want to take a second to just acknowledge that I felt like that conflict escalated like really quickly, and we sort of hinted in the little lead up that there was some pre-existing tension, and so yeah, I couldn't help but like think about the 5 different approaches to conflict or conflict styles that we have to talk about in our training sessions. So those would be competing, accommodating, avoiding, compromising, and collaborating.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think Riley and Jess fall in those?
I think at the beginning was compromising with the co-first author, but it wasn't working out clearly in the scenario.
Yeah. Definitely there was attempts at compromise where both parties would kind of gain equal status, but Riley was in the position that he wanted to compete. Riley wanted first authorship, and that was the only thing he was going to accept. So compromising at that point wasn't an option. It was not a very viable conflict resolution style.
And I mean, had they gone into this, and I mean, obviously the project had already started, there are already expectations in place when Riley was brought on board, but I think, we're big fans of like the collaborative approach because it's not, sometimes compromises work out and they're better than, some of the other strategies. But often with compromising, neither person is really getting what they want. Whereas like when we do a collaborative model, there's more of a conversation around like why you want X thing. So, I mean, obviously things are too far gone for that now, but I want to like push you to think about like which of those 5 styles is yours. Do you tend to avoid conflict, which is sort of what starts to happen at the end where, Riley's like, I'm out of here. I'm not going to argue. I'm taking my data with me.
Mm-hmm.
But can he take his data with him?
So that's a great question. According to the university, he sure can't. So intellectual property ownership over data is defined as the university. Data is defined by the university as an invention, which is created by in a laboratory situation by many joint inventors. So in a lab environment, if you create data as part of a series of experiments or ongoing lines of research, one individual in that line cannot take their data away from the rest of everybody else. So if you work in a lab environment, you have every right to every other person in that environment's data as long as it somehow pertains to your work.
May I ask, would it apply to everyone on the team?
It would apply to everybody in the team, yeah. So anybody could use Jess or Riley's data if it pertained to their work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there are sort of like 4 hot tips that are given in terms of like how to know who should be, recognized as a co-author, first author. Can you tell us what those are?
Sure can. So co-author should be recognized if 2 of these 4 requirements are fulfilled. Conception of idea and design of experiment, the actual execution of the experiment, analysis and interpretation of the data, and the writing of the manuscript. So if you complete any 2 of these 4 tasks, you should be assigned an authorship somewhere in the long series of names. In this situation, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a compromise between the 2 parties.
No.
So what would some next steps be?
Well, I guess having a conversation with the supervisor with all the parties involved would be a good step to start.
I think that a conversation, an informal conversation with the supervisor is an excellent place to start.
And just, for going into that conversation, hopefully you've kept a record of the work that you've been doing all along, because saying like, I put in X amount of time, it's kind of hard to really track that and to understand what was produced out of that time. So, in any situation, keep a record. That's all the time that we have for today. So we've got one more video coming to you with our producer, Amika.
Catch us next time on
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.